Hey,
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, excited. So I see a couple of people have joined us, and that's really good.
Nice.
So I think we will get right into it.
Okay.
So, hi, Kendria Ferguson, a second year PhD student, sustainability consultant, and also a fellow member of the Clinton Climate Initiative's Women in Renewable Energy Network. And that's
Okay.
where we connected. And I must say, I'm really grateful for the Wire Network for, connecting me to a community of strong, intelligent, beautiful women throughout the region and
Yeah,
beyond.
definitely.
Yes. So I know, well, when the events started to occur in St. Vincent with the eruption of the last Fray beginning on was it the 9th of April? You were one of the first I saw to really start raising awareness, and not just awareness in terms of, yes, reaching out and asking persons to, support in terms of aid, but also educating us on a bit of the background and also I guess, the philosophy around disaster risk management. So that really stood out to me. So that's why I invited you to join me today so that we can speak a bit about that, because it's a pressing issue that is happening right now affecting us regionally, and it's going to be a long-term effort. It's not, you know with a hurricane, it happens for a short period of time, and then you can move on to recovery. But I know even yesterday evening there was another eruption or explosion, so it's going to be ongoing for some time. So can you tell us what really inspired you or motivated you to start doing this important work?
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for that intro. Yeah, my passion to really understand natural disasters throughout the Caribbean. I'm from the Bahamas, so I have lived through a number of hurricanes, and the recovery and reconstruction efforts of Hurricane Dorian is still ongoing, and that is the basis of my PhD. So when I saw the volcano eruption in St. Vincent, um, one of the things that really stood out to me is literally like the day before, there was an article published about the prime minister noting that in the coming months, that country may have challenges financially to meet its public service requirements by paying salaries and paying public benefits. And now here they have to deal with this major disaster that has an unknown time period. Like, we don't know how long this is going to last. And now you have to evacuate thousands of people from your island in the midst of a COVID pandemic. So we already know that the Caribbean has been devastated by COVID. All of our economies have shut down. There's mass unemployment. And all of that plays into the role of natural disasters. For us in the region, natural disasters is really a development issue. So as much as we talk about education and crime, we need to be equally talking about natural disasters. There's great implication for increasing poverty because of natural disasters. And my passion for trying to get the awareness out there with St. Vincent is to really push that, hey, like, we're not dealing with this enough. And we have like this reactionary attitude. Like, I see it all the time here in the Bahamas. Like, we're not talking about real hurricane preparedness until hurricane season is like just around the corner, or we're not talking about the implications of getting house insurance or health insurance until a disaster hit and people are left trying to figure out how to navigate that time. So we have to be more proactive, and we have to really put natural disasters and what it means socially. We always leave out the social aspect. How are families going to be impacted? How are women going to be impacted? Single family homes. How is education being impacted? You have to imagine a lot of kids are now out of school in St. Vincent. and what does that mean for, the rest of the semester and even moving forward. So there's a lot of social issues really attached to natural disasters that we're not talking about enough.
Yes, so true. And although the disaster in St. Vincent is not directly linked to climate change, I think it's a good indicator of what the region will be dealing with, whether it be a hurricane or even drought or flooding or a volcanic eruption, and the way that it impacts every aspect of our lives, not just the physical disruption or destruction, but
Yeah.
also the social impacts, as you mentioned, which are felt differently, if you look at genders or we look at the different age groups. And then added to the ongoing COVID pandemic, my heart really goes out for the island of St. Vincent and their people who, they still have to go on, and but not even knowing when the end is in sight. And I think it highlights the need for greater cooperation within our region. you know
Yeah.
we, yeah, we have CARICOM, but it just shows that we can't do it alone. We need each other, and we need also to be ready to respond. you know
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to your point at CARICOM, just a few weeks ago, there was a lot of articles circulating, or over the last few months, like, what is the role of CARICOM? How can we strengthen CARICOM? And to be honest, Bahamas has been way north, so sometimes we feel a little separated from the whole regional network. But when it comes to disasters, like what we're seeing with St. Vincent, although the volcano eruption is on St. Vincent, it is greatly impacting neighboring islands, right? So when you talk about the strength of CARICOM and having that regional network, there has to be a regional understanding of how we're going to respond to natural disasters in its entirety. All the islands are coming to the aid of St. Vincent, and I'm so proud to see that as a Caribbean woman. Like, great, we can all come together and we can respond, but can we all come together and put in a really effective plan that's going to help the multitude of dimensions of society that we have, and also different islands. I can't imagine what, like, Barbados and all the other islands have to go through in terms of providing aid, but at the same time responding to the impacts on their islands and still trying to kickstart the economy following COVID. It's a lot. And this is why regional cooperation is even more important, so that we could share that burden out throughout the region.
Yes, I mean, regional integration and cooperation has been a topic for quite some time, maybe before our time with our parents' generation. And there always seems to be a bit of a challenge or a struggle making it happen. But, as you said, we're really happy to see that all the countries have really reached out or, answered the call to assist. But I guess going forward, even for us, that's why I always mention the Wire Network, because prior to that, I didn't really have so many contacts throughout the islands.
Yeah.
You get to understand we're facing similar challenges with us being small island developing states, due to our size and our economy and being, isolated, a small landmass, and the lack of economies of scale. So I think that we can learn a lot from each other, and so going forward, considering or accepting that we are in a very vulnerable region when it comes to natural disasters, what are your thoughts on how we build resilience in the Caribbean region?
Yeah, I know one of the issues with resilience is, when we think of resilience, we think of, okay, that's going to be expensive. What does that really mean for small islands who've already had major hits to their economics because of COVID? We don't have the money to really invest in renewable energy or to improve infrastructure. So regionally, we have to think about climate financing. And I know our politicians go to all these really great meetings, and we wear our suits and our nice outfits and we parade around, but we're not really seeing those meetings really kind of translate into benefits on the islands and benefits for people that really need it. So when it comes to climate finance, that is definitely something that we need to figure out. And like you say, the volcano is not really directed to climate, but when it comes to just natural disasters. We need to figure out a financial route for the region and as well as for each island within themselves. I also think it's important to put a lot of focus on social dynamics and data collection. We don't really understand what is going on socially in some of our islands until a disaster hit. And then it's like these compounding impacts, right? And it's kind of a bit too late because now you're creating these long-term effects because you're not really addressing some of the root causes of social issues in our communities. So I think those are two really main things. We need to figure out the financial aspects. How are we gonna really address the climate change issues as well as natural disasters in our country, and how are we going to do that responsibly? We don't want to be adding a lot of taxes on the backs of people right now because it's just a lot. And obviously that's going to be one of the first things that people say. We don't have enough taxes in the region, so we need to increase our taxes.
Really?
Well, I know that's a common thing for the Bahamas. We don't have enough taxes. So yeah, it's looking at what are responsible financial mechanisms that we can put in place in the region that can really help countries address some of these issues, and actually just have a pocket of money that they can, tap into when a disaster comes. We have to get away from that reactionary response and then really diving into the social aspects of it. If we can better prepare people just socially, just to be able to function within the community and really improve their quality of life, then we can improve their resiliency to some of these disasters. So how can we strengthen social networks, and how can we really improve access to finances?
Yes. And while you were speaking, I am reminded of the topic of climate justice. In terms of regions that are being so severely impacted are not necessarily the regions that have contributed to climate change, and therefore the industrialized nations should bear the responsibility of at least funding these measures to improve our resilience, because we do not have the capacity to do it, so it will go a long way in preparing us, because we can't relocate from outside of the hurricane belt, unfortunately, and all the reports indicate that we can expect to see more frequent category 5 and 4 hurricanes. So how do you exist with that knowledge? How do you prepare your society to thrive even in the face of these natural hazards? It's like the same thing that makes us so unique and such a great destination also makes us highly vulnerable.
Really vulnerable. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and then it brings up the conversation of, do you really populate the Caribbean? I know that's a conversation that's been I've been having with my advisor in terms of, do all the Bahamian Islands need to be populated? And we know our people do not want to leave home, no matter what they have to face. To them, their island is their home and they're attached to it. And we even see it now when it comes to evacuation orders. A lot of people are not prepared to leave their home. So we have to really become more, more responsible governance is a big thing, and really address some of these issues when it comes to natural disasters. And we're not doing enough. We spend a lot of time talking. We spend a lot of time doing reports and attending all these high level meetings, but I don't think we're doing enough at the community level.
Yes, a very good point, because yes, we sign all these international conventions, and I mean, that's good. But I feel like we are very weak on implementation, at least here in Trinidad and Tobago, and I can assume in the rest of the
Yes, you can definitely say that. You can definitely say that for the Bahamas.
Yeah, so it's like it doesn't trickle down, and that's partly why I started the Climate Conscious podcast, because I wanted to take the discussions around sustainability and climate change from the high level decision makers just the policy makers. We needed to trickle down to the man and the woman in the streets, the fisherman, the taxi driver, the person involved in agriculture, because it has a direct impact on each of us. So we can't just leave it to the politicians or the decision makers, because we should have a say in what is being implemented. And then therefore, if we are aware, we can lobby them, or we can, demand that they actually implement the things that we've been discussing.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Yeah, I think the community needs to speak up more and really push for more of what really benefits them. Um, I know it's political season for a lot of islands now, so we're hearing all the promises on the heels of a probably going to be a busy hurricane season. So it's going to be interesting to see what the next few months are going to turn out to be. And yeah, I mean, providing relief and support to St. Vincent, I hope the region really stands together and do that because they're really going to need it.
So, Kendria, what would you say directly to the individual, the persons who have joined us on this live, as many of them are Caribbean people? Any tips would you like to share with us?
I think from a personal level, I would look at how am I vulnerable, right? So if I live in a household that have, how much dependence do I have? Also, do I have people in my household that have disabilities? Am I prepared, or do I have a plan in case I need to evacuate, especially with people that are, not mobile? Also, look at just what access of assistance do you have? I know social protection has been an issue throughout the region, but are you able to kind of reevaluate your finances and save a few dollars in case there is an emergency, and start stocking up on those emergency supplies now. We don't really know what the hurricane season is going to be. I'm really praying that it's going to be a quiet one for the region. But there, like you said, there are other disasters outside of these climate-related ones. And I think as a person, we need to start putting more effort into looking at what risk am I facing. That would be my biggest suggestion to people. Just really look at what adjustments you can make in your life. Make smarter decisions when it comes to environments. Sometimes we can avoid certain disasters if we treat the environment with respect. So yeah, those, just look basically at your life and see how you can make adjustments and be more prepared.
Yes, I think, we each have to take individual responsibility for our level of resilience, and then it will expand into the community. So tell us a bit about your PhD. I know you're in the second year. How is that going, and what is it focused on?
It's going great. I just got approval. So I'm doing with the University of West Indies. And to be honest, that was important to me because I wanted to get a lot more of regional support or regional work. Usually, typically in the Bahamas, a lot of people go to university in the States or the UK. So I really wanted to go to UE. So I'm doing it on the socioeconomics of Hurricane Dorian. So I'm looking at what social and economic vulnerabilities existed on Abaco and Grand Bahama prior to Dorian, how that one storm affected those social vulnerabilities. Did they create new ones? Did they exacerbate existing ones? And then turning that into a framework so that we can take a lot of that social and economic data, plug that in to really support disaster response and disaster risk management throughout not only the Bahamas, but the rest of the Caribbean. So it's going great so far. I got approval to submit the ethics, so that's my focus for this week, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm really enjoying understanding all the interconnections that social, economics, and disasters have within the community and just how we operate. So I'm really excited about doing this project.
Yes, I think it's very important for the region. So I'm looking forward to you, moving along your PhD journey and sharing you on.
Thank you.
As you continue sharing with us, share with us the information and the knowledge around disaster risk management and response. And so we have a comment from Proverbs 356, formal disaster management awareness and community training in the region. That is very important. I know locally our ODPM they train community responders, first responders. Mm-hmm. So, that's a good step, getting the community active. And but again, I think it's important for individuals because, for example, getting your emergency kit in place at the start of the hurricane season and ensuring that everything is up to date. I think here in Trinidad, since we are not normally hit directly, people have a kind of false sense of security that, but we're seeing where, no one is immune. There's no vaccine for climate change or natural disasters. So
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, like you said, culture plays a big role in how we prepare for disasters, and I'm starting to see that throughout my research as well. You know, I mean, even though the Bahamas typically does get hit, uh, we've always taken hurricanes like the water off our back, right? Like we're used to this. We can handle this. We've had these before, and Dorian was something completely different. Like that was nothing I've ever experienced or something my mother's ever experienced. So that was a real wake up call for us. But like the commenter noted, when it comes to disaster preparedness or training, a lot of the aid that we received in Bahamas was international assistance. So that also speaks to what level of capacity we have on each island. And governments can't do it alone. And I'm really hoping politicians accept that and really start to develop plans where they integrate nonprofits and the private sector. Because I think that is how we're really going to get over this hurdle of being able to adequately address natural disasters, as well as some social issues that we have. So beefing up nonprofit assistance and their abilities within communities, that's going to be a big role when it comes to disasters in our region.
yes. So thank you so much, Kendria. It was great discussing this important topic with you. I would encourage all persons who have joined us, do what you can to support St. Vincent, and also look at your individual vulnerability, and maybe even your community, get others involved or engaged so that we can be better prepared to withstand and recover from these events.
Thank you. And congratulations on your 1 year anniversary.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, darling. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Hi guys. So we started off today with a chat with Kendria about disaster risk management, since it's a topical issue right now in the region with our brothers and sisters, I would say our Caribbean family over in St. Vincent, currently experiencing the ongoing eruption of the Lasso Free volcano. And it just shows you, how the different vulnerabilities that we have within the region. And then on top of that, we're all dealing with COVID-19. And then there's also climate change hasn't taken a break. So you can also have those impacts coming into play. So I felt that it was important for us to reflect on that, and also I'd like to encourage everyone to, give what you can. There will be a need, a long-term need for assistance to St. Vincent, in particular things like water and food. Although they grow a lot of food, all of that has been impacted by the ashfall, so they can't harvest any crops or anything. So, and yes, they'll be getting, a lot of tin stuff, but in terms of fresh food, they may have to import that from the other islands. And of course, their water supply has been impacted as well. And we don't know how long that will go on for. So I hope you enjoyed that discussion with Kendria and I.